Sports Center right now. Sydney McLaughlin sets world record to win 400-meter hurdles at the Summer Olympics. The 21-year-old from New Jersey won the gold medal, finishing in 51.46 seconds. Also in Tokyo, Team USA women's basketball defeats Australia 79-55 to move on to the quarterfinals. Stateside, it was a busy day in the NBA. Steph Curry gets a 4-year, $215 million extension from the Warriors. Curry is the first player in history to sign multiple $200 million contracts. Must be nice. And the Lakers agreed to a 1-year free agency contract with Carmelo Anthony. Anthony is, of course, an 18-year veteran and a 10-time All-Star, but he has never been to the NBA Finals. Trying to change that this year. SportsCenter is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive makes bundling easy and affordable. Get a multi-policy discount by combining your home, car, motorcycle, commercial auto, and more. All your protection in one place. Bundle and save at Progressive.com.
NFL Training Camp 2021 with Keyshawn Johnson, the Dallas Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys training camp is going to be crazy when you think about the Achilles heel for them a year ago. It was the defense. They went out and got Dan Quinn as the defensive coordinator to short things up for them. They drafted Micah Parsons out of Penn State. So when you look at what they're capable of doing on the defensive side of the ball, offensively, they're explosive. We know what they have. All they got to worry about is keeping Dak Prescott upright and controlling the clock with Ezekiel Elliott. And if they do that with a stout defense, watch out, Cowboys.
This is the biggest season ever. The countdown to the NFL season continues. Weekday mornings with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin, starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Oh, he's going back in his bag.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Zubin is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear on the Goodyear Hotline. Jen Latta, Bart Scott, and Mike Tannenbaum holding it down until 7 o'clock this morning. The NFL, guys, is just one sleep away. Steelers and Cowboys get it going Thursday night in the annual Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. Of course, it's resuming after taking off last year due to the pandemic, but you probably won't see the starters, at least the quarterbacks, out there on the field. The Cowboys will not play Dak Prescott. He suffered a setback with his shoulder recovery. He could resume throwing next week. Mike McCarthy said Prescott would throw a few days after the injury, but after a planned meeting with the medical staff on Monday, they decided to keep him out just a little bit longer. Let's hear from Dallas's head coach.
You know, after the research and looking at it, we just don't want this to turn into something big. So it's he's doing everything that he possibly can, and but we're just being a little more conservative with his rehab. If it was in season, I think it'd be a different outlook, different focus. But this, because of where we are, having the extra week, we just want to make sure this doesn't turn into something bigger.
Preseason football is always interesting. You never know how many snaps the starters are going to get, but I believe Dak wanted to get some snaps because he was coming off of an injury last year, just to kind of get those live reps again. So, Mike, I'll start with you. How concerned should Dallas fans be?
Absolutely. I'd be hugely concerned, and here's why. You're talking about your starting quarterback who you're paying $40 million a year, hasn't played in a year, and he's already had an injury, and it's that old axiom, guys. Quarterbacks throw with their legs. Vinny Testaverde, Dan Marino, they're going to go to the grave being able to throw the ball. What did them in were lower foot injuries, Achilles in Vinny's case. Dan at the end had foot and ankle issues. And if Dak Prescott is I'm sure you guys heard what Tim Hasselbeck said, but if he's nicked up now in the first week of August, we were talking about the NBA earlier about being a marathon. This is an 18-week, 17-game marathon, guys. And if he's sore today, what's going to happen by Thanksgiving? And I'm very bullish on Dallas, very bullish on Dan Quinn and all their weapons. But this is, make no mistake about it, this is not a minor injury. We're not talking about, his left wrist or non-throwing shoulder. This is a guy that hasn't played in a year, already has soreness in his shoulder, and now they're pushing it back. Those to me are ominous concerns.
And what we're saying, Mike, is the compensation, right? We're talking about compensation from whatever's changed in his mechanics because maybe he's not planning off that back foot the same way.
Not like money compensation. You're talking about physical compensation.
I'm sorry. Let me clarify.
For the injury.
The compensation.
Like biomechanical?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I tell everybody all the time, right? I had total reconstruction on my great toe. So now when I go train, I got left knee tendonitis. And to me, it looks like I feel like I run the same. I just don't know, but it changed my gait. So something's changed in his mechanics because he's compensating for the the rehab, or something got too strong, or your body's all about balance, right? I tell people all the time, you can't do curls if you don't do triceps, right? Because what happens is it throws everything out of whack. You need the same push-pull. So the fact that his mechanics are off and that he's experiencing pain in the shoulder already, you think about the labrum, you think about the rotator cuff, and you think about him throwing the football differently.
Bart, it's interesting you say that. Like Coach Parcells would always say to a quarterback, hey, we squat, we clean for exactly those reasons.
Yeah.
Like you need a really sturdy foundation. And, to Dak's credit, like he worked really hard to come back from that injury.
Yeah.
But it just seems like, to your point, where if you're working on that foundation, now all of a sudden you're introducing throwing. And I'm sure being the competitive guy, he probably went out and did too much.
Going too hard.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to overreact here, but it's the throwing shoulder of your star quarterback.
Not a nothing burger.
It is not a nothing burger, no question about it. And if I'm them, I may come out and say, hey, we're going to shut him down until, third week in August and reevaluate. Because, again, I know, like, we want to see him out there. We want to see him with CD Lamb and everybody else. But I'm much more concerned if I'm Dallas. Like, how are you going to look in Thanksgiving?
Yeah, this is a marathon, not a sprint. And I think if I'm them, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a total body reassessment of Dak Prescott. We have something called the FMS, right, where we go through our functional motor skills, and it shows us where we're deficient at and where we're weak at. And it's all about balance. It's not about – people think, everybody, you go into the gym, how much you bench. It's not about that. It's about my pliability, my elasticity, right, and my ability to be able to be fluid, right? That's why you hear about elasticity. That's why you think about boxers, right? The guys that have the most punching power are guys who have, like a nice range of motion and elasticity. And really right now, Dak is focused on his lower body. How much attention was he paying to his lats and to his shoulder and things of that sort? And now his body's off whack. So I would send him through an FMS test and give him a bunch of prehab workout and exercise that he's going to have to do to try and create some balance with the stabilizer muscles.
So you are going to hear the name Garrett Gilbert an awful lot, as he is the backup there in Dallas. What should people know about him? And listen, they open the season against Tampa Bay, so it's not like they get to kind of, slow step their way into the season. They go right up against the defending champs.
Somebody on the set was dumb enough to pick Dallas to win that game. So, that prediction, by the way, guys, was firmly etched in pencil. So I'm taking out
exactly. Flip it over.
Yeah, no, Gilbert's look. He's a competent backup. Look, he's not as good as Andy Dalton, and there's a big drop off for them to be successful. Jen, any chance to win is, hey, we're going to hand the ball off to Zeke, and that's why we have Zeke. And you're just going to have to play a different style of game. And I think Dan Quinn's going to impact this defense. It's not going to happen overnight, and that's where you would think early on, hey, Dak's going to put enough points on the board, let that defense get better and better. And if they have to go with Gilbert, it's just going to be a different type of offense.
See, the problem is when you look at this schedule, right, Buccaneers and Chargers, these are guys that can put points up on the board offensively. So how early on in the season will it force Dak to get up to those 30 to 40 throws a game, which could irritate and, I firmly believe that Ben Roethlisberger kind of didn't have the arm strength coming back from Tommy John's because he just threw the ball too much, and eventually that shoulder got tired and he couldn't be able to step through his throws. Same thing you have to watch for Dak Prescott. Like we always talk about carpal tunnel, things of that sort, right, which is basically just the inflammation within the joints, which stops you from being able to recover. And, that's something that I would be concerned with. But they can't get away the first couple of games not putting Dak at risk. Like now after that, when you go to the Eagles,